William Joseph Pitkin, the son of Edward Gardner Pitkin and Catherine Kit Hannon, was born on October 9, 1925. The youngest of 5 siblings, he grew up in Hartford, Connecticut, and graduated from Hartford Public High School, class of 1943. He was described as a top student and was an excellent athlete, having starred in football, basketball, and baseball for the Owls. Upon graduating from high school, his intention was to go to the University of Connecticut, but World War II intervened, and he served in the Navy from 1944 to 1945. Being an individual who always strived to do what needed to be done, his military honors included the American Theater Medal, Asiatic Pacific Medal, Victory Medal, and Letter of Commendation. After the war, William J. Pitkin attended Cheshire Academy and then enrolled at Trinity College and picked up where he left off and continued his athletic dominance on the field and court. His athletic abilities included being awarded 9 letters in football, basketball, and baseball, the first to do so at Trinity College. He became co-captain of the basketball team and was honorable mention for New England basketball, the same year as Bob Cousy. Among the honors he received at Trinity College includes being named the Who's Who in American Colleges and Universities, receiving the George Sheldon McCook Trophy for distinction in athletics, and being named to the Trinity Hall of Fame. Always having an interest with working with children and wanting to teach others the values sports has to offer, he first pursued the field of recreation and parks by working part-time in the field in 1948. He graduated from Trinity College with a degree in history and American government in 1950 and played for the Hartford Hurricanes, a member of the American Basketball League and a predecessor to the NBA. In 1950, his full-time career in Parks and Recreation began with the Hartford Parks and Recreation Department by being appointed as supervisor for playgrounds and community centers of the South End. Shortly thereafter, on May 27, 1951, he married Kathleen K. Sheehan. In 1960, the opportunity to become the first full-time director of Parks and Recreation in Wethersfield presented itself, and he applied and was appointed in what would prove to be a lifelong commitment. It's the place where he would call home, and with his wife Kathleen, raise their 5 children: William, Kathleen, Edward, John, and Mary Beth. Ultimately, he would have 10 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild. Bill and his wife Kathleen enjoyed 30 years of marriage before her passing in 1981. Along with his neighboring friends Clem Lemire, Ernie St. Jacques, and Vic Jarm, Bill became a leader in the field, developing new programs and facilities and developing his community into a desirable place to live and recreate. As the community grew, so did the department. Parklands were developed, playgrounds, pools, courts, and fields were built, and programs were developed for all ages and all abilities. The Solomon Wells House and grounds, once owned by former Governor Solomon Wells, was obtained from the state and is now preserved as a gem for the town, utilized for meetings, concerts, and special events. 2 former school buildings were converted to a nature center and community center. What started as a one-man department quickly grew to include having a second full-time employee, then a third, and then another, until there seemed to be no end to what Bill would pursue. A community with a population of approximately 26,000 people would eventually have an assistant director, recreation supervisor, a nature center director, therapeutic recreation supervisor, youth sports coordinator, and a community center director. Though he dwelled in sports as a young man, he understood the value of offering diversified recreation programs and took enjoyment with assisting with cultural programs such as the Wethersfield Spring Arts Festival and in the startup of the dance and drama programs and Wethersfield Teen Theater, and in developing opportunities for youth by offering talent shows and in offering programs to children and adults with special needs. William J. Pitkin was a leader in every sense of the word. He had a unique ability to select the right people for the right job, delegated responsibility, and was known to get things done. He firmly believed no task was too big with the right help. His open-door policy was always inviting and friendly. Because of his leadership skills, he was the go-to person whenever town officials had an idea or wanted the town to provide a new service. When officials wanted to start a youth employment service, he was asked to start one, and when senior citizens wanted transportation services by the town, he was asked to oversee the transportation services for the elderly and handicapped. He was sought out by his peers and was well respected. So much so that over the years, he was named acting town manager on 3 separate occasions when the town manager's position became vacant. He turned down offers of being appointed town manager, as Parks and Recreation was his true love. Other honors bestowed upon him included serving as president of the Connecticut Recreation and Parks Association in 1966, receiving the Honorary Life Membership Award from CRPA for his contributions to CRPA and the profession, and being named Kiwanis Man of the Year for 1981 and 82. Unfortunately, Bill passed away on March 7, 1989, before his work was finished, but not before seeing the community Wethersfield would become. At the time of his death, Bill and his second wife, Janine, lived in Old Saybrook, Connecticut. The Wethersfield Community Center was a symbol of a meeting place for the community to gather, and Bill was a master at bringing people together. The Wethersfield Community Center was renamed in his honor in 1989 to the William J. Pitkin Community Center. It is for all these reasons that CRPA is placing Mr. William J. Pitkin into its 2016 Hall of Fame. Clement M. Lemire was born on November 10, 1922 in Franklin, Connecticut. Clem served in the U.S. Marine Corps during World War II, both as a drill sergeant and in the Pacific, aboard the aircraft carrier Puget Sound. He was married for 60 years to his lovely wife Lillian, and together raised a family of 4 sons, Brent, Bruce, Brian, and Bradley Lemire. They had 8 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. Clem Lemire was best noted for his passion and work ethic. His work was his passion, always striving to provide the Parks and Recreation Department with every recreational opportunity possible. Clem Lemire was the first recreation director for the town of Franklin, a position he held until 1956. Then he became the first Parks and Recreation director for the town of Newington, serving for 10 years until 1966. He built Churchill Park and started the first 2 pools, Churchill Pool and Mill Pond Pool. A funny story about Clem was that he requested to purchase a Jeep for himself as a town vehicle. The story goes on and the council cut his budget of that vehicle. So Clem, being the resourceful professional that he was, had money in his supplies accounts. He ordered all the parts of a military Jeep and shipped them to the park's garage. He had his mechanic proceed to put the vehicle together, and when completed, Clem simply drove the vehicle out of the garage and used it every day. Clem moved on to be the first superintendent of the newly combined Manchester, New Hampshire Parks and Recreation Department in 1966, serving the city for 29 years until his retirement in 1995. He chopped wood every day up to and during his retirement. Clem passed away in 2013 and has been missed by his numerous family and friends. In 1991, Newington named the expansion of Churchill Park after him, called Clem Lemire Park. It includes walking trails, synthetic turf, 2 baseball fields, 1 softball field, and a skate park. Clem would come back to visit on a yearly basis. He was very proud of all his accomplishments. Clem was a great man and a great professional. Clem was a past president of CRPA during 1962. He was a member of the National Recreation and Park Association, the New Hampshire Parks and Recreation Association, honorary lifetime member of Connecticut Recreation and Parks Association, Connecticut Recreation and Parks Association citation winner in 1969, American Legion Sweeney Post, Knights of Columbus, and League of 1,000 Men of the Precious Blood. He was awarded the National Recreation and Parks Association Meritorious Special Service Award, presented in 1995, and the New England District Council of National Recreation and Park Association Outstanding New England Recreation Director, presented in May of 1972. He consistently promoted the Parks and Recreation profession and mentored many young people to seek a career in Parks and Recreation. It is for all these reasons that CRPA is placing Mr. Clement Lemire into its 2016 Hall of Fame. Ernest O. St. Jacques, or Ernie as he was known, was born April 2, 1933. Ernie attended Laconia High School in central New Hampshire. He was a gifted athlete and played many sports, but excelled in football and basketball. During his summer vacation, he would work as a lifeguard at Weirs Beach, Lake Winnipesaukee, during the day, then suited up for his job as a part-time Laconia police officer during the evening. He was perhaps the youngest beat cop in the nation at the time. Ernie met Joanne Linder of Bristol, Connecticut on Weirs Beach, where she used to vacation with her parents. They married and lived in Bloomington, Indiana, until he graduated. They moved back to Connecticut, and Ernie worked for a short period of time at New Departure, Hyatt, in Bristol, until he was hired as superintendent of parks in West Hartford. Ernie and Joanne had 3 children, Jay, named for Ernie's high school football coach Jay O'Connor, Susan, and Christopher. Ernie had 5 grandsons, Tim St. Jacques, Eric and Troy's son, Tyler and Brent St. Jacques. Ernie passed away January 24, 1989, at the age of 55, after battling lung cancer for 3 years. He was buried at Fairview Cemetery in West Hartford. Ernie was hired for the town of West Hartford by Bill Davies in 1957 as a supervisor in the recreation department. He had graduated a year earlier on a full scholarship from Indiana University, where he played varsity football and basketball with a bachelor's degree in recreation administration. While in college, he began his military career in the ROTC. Ernie was a member of the U.S. Army Reserve and spent 13 years with the Connecticut Army National Guard, retiring in 1970 with the rank of captain. He worked for the town of West Hartford for 29 years and held positions such as superintendent, acting director, and director of the Parks and Recreation Department. In 1980, he was appointed director for Human Services. In addition to Parks and Recreation, Ernie supervised health, social services, and building and maintenance before retiring in December 1986. Parks and Recreation was his forte. As a professional Parks and Recreation administrator, he was a member and past president of the Connecticut Public Parks Association and past president of the Connecticut Recreation Society. He held membership in similar regional and national associations. During that period, he was instrumental in developing the neighborhood park system in West Hartford and various community recreational facilities, such as Rock Ledge Golf Course, the Cornerstone Indoor Pool, the Elmwood Community Center, where the Ernest O. St. Jacques Auditorium and Banquet Center was named in Ernie's honor, and the Veterans Memorial Skating Rink, which have earned West Hartford state, regional, and national awards. Those who knew and worked with Ernie said he worked under the philosophy that there ought to be many small parks in West Hartford with small parking lots and similar facilities. Not only did Ernie understand the value of parks as a neighborhood facility, but he saw them as giving the town a sense of community and identity. He saw the need for public athletic fields and swimming pools, and saw those things as an important public service. And it's those things that are a part of what makes West Hartford so special today, said former West Hartford Mayor Nan Glass. Praised as an innovative, energetic administrator, St. Jacques was, quote, the kind of person who led rather than directed, said former Mayor Charles R. Chuck Matties. St. Jacques was a West Hartford Rotarian who typically would be cajoled into leading any number of club activities because other members saw him as a person who got things done. He was known as a hard-working but fun-loving type of guy. Ernie's staff really respected Ernie enough to always try to do their very best. We knew what was expected of us, and we always would work very hard to never disappoint him, said Robin Collins, former facility manager of Elmwood Community Center, who served under Ernie from 1984 until his retirement. Ernie was a practical jokester his whole career. Some of his stories can't be repeated. However, Ernie wanted to pretend that the town of West Hartford bought him a Cadillac as his town car. So before Ernie drove to a Parks and Recreation Association meeting, he purchased magnetic Town of West Hartford car magnets for both sides of his doors. He stuck them to his own personal Cadillac and drove to the meeting. Everyone got a big kick out of it. Ernie would always one-up his close professional friends in the Parks and Recreation business. He often would take interview panelists that he asked to help him out to dinner after the interviews. Ernie would think nothing of doing whatever necessary to impress his colleagues. Ernie has been described as an innovator in Parks and Recreation as well as an exceptional professional. It is for all these reasons that CRPA is placing Mr. Ernest O. St. Jacques into its 2016 Hall of Fame. Victor J. Jarm was born on March 18, 1925, in Hartford, Connecticut. Vic graduated from the New York College of Environmental Science and Forestry. In a career spanning nearly 40 years, he served as city forester, park superintendent, and director of parks and recreation for the city of Hartford. Victor was married to Genevieve for 65 years and raised a family of 6 children: Thomas, Henry, Robert, Paula, Janet, and Jennifer. He was instrumental in establishing 2 well-known park support groups, the Bushnell Park Foundation and Friends of Elizabeth Park. He is an honorary lifetime director of the Elizabeth Park Conservancy. Victor was a visiting lecturer for the University of Massachusetts and taught courses in park management. He was active in professional organizations and served as president of the New England Park Association and the Connecticut Tree Protective Association. He was a regular contributor to the New England Park newsletter on park management. Vic was a member of a national task force to develop regulations for the Urban Park and Recreation Recovery Act of 1978. In 1980, after publishing the first park recovery plan in the United States, he received an Achievement Award from Cecil D. Andrews, then Secretary of the U.S. Department of the Interior. Victor was the 1983 winner of the New England Park Association's John Howard Award. The award is the most prestigious honor awarded a member of the NEPA. It is only awarded to a member who has displayed exemplary and meritorious service in the park field. In 1985, Victor introduced the use of interactive computers for identifying and informing citizens of recreation and leisure opportunities. The City of Hartford, the Mayor and Court of Common Council recognized his contribution to the City of Hartford in 2008 by naming the playground at Foster Heights Park the Victor Jarm Playground. Prior to his work in Hartford, Victor was a young 18-year-old lieutenant in the U.S. Army Air Force. He was a bombardier in B-26 Liberators and flew 37 missions in the European Theater of Operations. He was shot down over Vienna, Austria, and held in prison camps in Hungary, Germany, and Austria. Vic was a genius parks and recreation professional who started major national concerts at Dillon Stadium and Pope Park during the rock and roll era of the 70s. Vic would tell funny stories about being surrounded by Hartford police officers and walking backstage with suitcases filled with hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash to pay the bands minutes before they would perform on stage. Victor passed away on August 13, 2015. It is for all these reasons that CRPA is placing Victor Jarm into its 2016 Hall of Fame.